Hello chess lovers! While surfing the internet I came across an interesting game with an amazing finish and decided to share with you. The game was played between two Soviet-Ukrainian chess players. On the white side is Fedor Bogatirchuk and his opponent is Nikolay Kopaev. Kopaev was also a chess composer and theorist, and when it comes to Bogatirchuk, he was a doctor of medicine, political activist and writer. All in all, Bogatirchuk had a very interesting and adventurous life. This game is from 1938 URS-ch Championship semi-finals, which took place in Kiev. With this being said, we are good to go with the game. Bogatirchuk opened up with e4, to which Kopaev answered with c5. The good old Sicilian defense is on the board. And now let's see what's going to happen next. d6. Scheveningen variation is on the board, against which white is choosing the classical variation. In classical variation, the players are castling kingside, but even so, the games are usually very interesting and sacrificial ideas are hanging all over the board. Usually in here, white is preferring a prophylactic king h1 move. According to modern theory, this is the main move. Bishop e3, a4 are also popular alternatives, but in the game we see bishop f3, queen c7, queen e1. The queen can be useful when going for e5 thrust. Knight c6, bishop e3, bishop d7, queen g3, rook f d8. Black is freeing the f8 square for the bishop, and then, for example, in many cases black can fianchetto the kingside bishop. Also from d8 the rook can be very useful for going for d5 advance. Usually in this classical variation white is attacking on the king side, and in return, by going for a breakthrough in the center, black is trying to neutralize that attack. If white tries to go too far with his pawns and black manages to go for a breakthrough in the center, white can find himself overexposed. That's why white has to be very careful. Rook a d1 was made in the game. Rook c8, king h1, b5, a3. Instead of playing a3, e5 is a move worth of taking into consideration, which can actually be problematic for black, but we will come back to that move a little bit later. Again, in here e5 is good, but still white is not hurrying to go for that e5 move, and Bogatirchuk is still trying to consolidate his position. Knight goes back on b6, bishop b2. Again, e5 is something which is worth of taking into consideration, but white put the bishop on the long diagonal, and later actually that bishop is going to play a key role. Bishop c8, and finally e5 is on the board. Knight fd5, e takes d6. It turns out that once white is going for e5, black's position collapses very quickly. Knight takes d5 and bishop takes f4. At this point already you can give a try to find forced mate in 3. Ready? Well, everything is ready to go for the final blow, and we have queen takes g7 check. Did you manage to find this queen sacrifice? All black could do was to accept the queen sacrifice, and we have a double check. King h6, bishop g7 check, king g6, and we have a very brutal checkmate on the board with 3 minor pieces. Just a fantastic position, right guys? Yeah, a very rare scene. This type of checkmate can be seen very rare in chess history. What I want to do right now is to go through the game while Stockfish is on. Okay, let's go through the game from this point on. So a3 was made, but actually e5 is something which is worth of taking into consideration. If d takes e5, then f takes e5, and if, for example, knight e8, then knight e4, and in this case actually white can build up a very strong kingside attack. Instead, in the game after b5, we see a3, which is also a decent continuation. Knight a5, and already at this point e5 can give white better chances than a few moves earlier. e5 can already create serious problems for black, and in case of knight e8 you can play knight f5. And if here, then knight d5. Yeah, this is a very interesting line, and at this point what else black can play? If here, then check, and then knight takes f7. Yeah, seems like that at this point playing e5 is allowing white to achieve a crushing victory. Instead we see a humble continuation starting with rook d3. So still white is not hurrying and is consolidating his position. Bishop b2, although again e5 is something which is worth of taking into consideration. Knight e8, knight e4. Black pieces are awkwardly piled up and seems like that they are not participating in the defense. That's something which gives white a huge advantage. Instead we see bishop b2, rook c5, rook d1, bishop c8, and finally at this point already e5 is on the board. Seems like that in here it's a crucial point for black where black has to go for e5 himself. And all in all, the players have equal chances. Black can fight back. Yeah, the idea of bringing the queen on this diagonal is to support the e5 move. Meeting white's attack with e5 is always a good idea in Scheveningen variation. But we see another passive looking waiting move, and finally, once e-pawn is stepping on the 5th rank, cracks are starting to appear in black's defense. Bishop takes d6, knight takes d5, so what else black can play instead of this foolish looking bishop takes f4 move? If he takes d5, then this is simple, knight c6 is winning. Yeah, it's over. Yeah, this is a position where it's very difficult to give black an advice, you know. What if knight takes d5? Then again, you are opening up the bishop's diagonal with either knight takes e6 or knight c6, and you are winning. Instead we see bishop takes f4, and at this point even the simple knight takes f4 or queen takes f4 are winning, but we see a staggering queen sacrifice which allowed white to announce mate in 3. If king g8, then knight e7 is a checkmate. Again, a very brutal checkmate, right guys? This bishop on the long diagonal is just a monster, and this is how white finished up his opponent. So this is it, dear chess lovers. Hope that you enjoyed this game. Bogatirchuk could really gain advantage faster, could gain a dominating position faster by going for that e5, but all the time he was putting that idea aside, and finally once he made it, it's also allowed him to go for a marvelous combination involving a queen sacrifice and finished up the game in the most brilliant style. In the end, the chess puzzle for you where the task is to win with the white pieces. Actually, there is a forced mate in 5, and as usual, we'll wait for your answer in the comment section. Thanks for watching, we'll see you in my next video. Take care.